I want to talk about, very, very specifically, it makes a lot of sense to talk about it tonight, and that is Yosef HaTzadik in Golus. Yosef HaTzadik, who went to Golus, but I want to specifically speak about him tonight, and I want us to understand what it means to be a tzaddik. How do you become a tzaddik? So, the first introduction to who Yosef HaTzadik really was. And that is in the beginning of Parashat Vayeshev. It says the following. Ela tolos Yaakov, Yosef, the child of Yaakov Avinu, was Yosef. Who royas echa batzayin, he was a shepherd, he was also a shepherd. Who nar es b'nei Bilha, es b'nei Zilpa. But he cared about the underdog. At the time that he was a shepherd, so there were 6 tribes that were the children of Leah and Yaakov. And there were 4 tribes that came from Bilha and Zilpa. Bilha and Zilpa were not the wives of Yaakov the same way as Rachel and Leah. They were shvachos. They were maidservants. When Lavan gave his daughters over, so the minhag of those days was that each woman had her like a maidservant that took care of her. So he gave their maidservants together with them. Bilha and Zilpa. Yaakov had children, with 2 children with Bilha and 2 children with Zilpa, but they weren't on the same level as the 6 tribes from Leah. Yosef's born. Yosef's his father's favorite, it says in the parasha. Yosef's on a different level. Yaakov Avinu gives him a special coat, Ksonas HaPasim. He's the Bechar of the wife that Yaakov really wanted to work for, which was Rachel. So he's the special child. He's even above the 6 tribes of Leah. He's the Bechar of Rachel. And for some reason, he's the protector of the 4 children that were being made fun of by the 6 children of Leah because they were being called, you guys, you 4, you're not on our level. You're the children of a maidservant. Our mother was Leah. Yosef, which we'll see what I'm talking about tonight, Yosef could not see another person being hurt. So he ran to his father and he said, Yaakov, my father, do you know what's going on? Do you know that these 6 guys are making fun? We don't want to use the word bully, but sort of that kind of word. And the brothers hated him for that. He was a tattletailer. They hated him for that. The introduction of the Torah to Yosef HaTzadik was that he cared about the brothers that were being made fun of by the others. This was the source of who Yosef was, and this is what's actually going to go out throughout the Chumash and save the world, not only save his life, but save the life of the world. Okay. So, Vayiru Echav ki Yosef avichem, the brothers saw that Yaakov loved him more than them. Vayishnu also, they hated him. They hated him so much, they could not say Shalom Aleichem. They could not talk to him in peace. That's how much they didn't like him. Okay, Yaakov sees this, and he's got to do something. His kids are not getting along. So what does he do? He comes up with a master plan. What's the master plan? I'm going to send Yosef on a mission. He's going to go to his brothers to find out how are they doing. And when they hear that he cares how they're doing, they'll shake hands, they'll hug, they'll kiss, they'll make up, and this whole thing will go away. But everyone here in this room knows, sort of backfired in a big way. So the pasuk says the following. I spoke about this a whole week, actually. I was in Lakewood, I was in Muncie, and the pasuk says the following. So Yosef's on his way to Shechem. He's on his way to find his brothers. Vayimtze'eu ish. And a man finds him. The man was a malach. Gavriel. V'nei shaya basadeh, Yosef was lost. He was wandering in the field. Vayishe'elu ish leimor matavakesh. And the Malach asked him, not where you're going. What do you want? Matavakesh. What are you looking for? So there's two very big questions on this pasuk. Question number one, first you get lost, then you get found. The pasuk here says they found him and he was lost. No, it's the wrong way around. You don't find something and then it's lost. It's lost and then you find something. So what's this pasuk saying over here? That he found him and he was lost. It should say he was wandering in the sada, and he found him. They flipped the words here. That's one. Two, if somebody's lost, what do you ask him? Where are you going? How can I give you directions? The Malach didn't ask him where he's going, and the Malach knew where he was going. He's a Malach. So he asked him, Matavakesh, he asked him, what do you want? He wasn't asking him, where are you going? He said, what do you want, Yosef? Things are not going good between you and your brothers. Yosef, what do you want? Not where you're going. Vayomer, Yosef said, Es achai ani mavakesh. I want to be accepted. It's the big word. Tonight's share is called acceptance. I want to be accepted by my brothers. Everybody in this room, and everybody listening to the share, and every human being on earth is looking for the same thing. What is that? Acceptance. We want to be accepted by our husbands. We want to be accepted by our wives. We want to be accepted by our parents. We want to be accepted by the people we work with, the people we live with. We will do some crazy stuff to be accepted. Yosef HaTzadik said to the Malach, my brothers don't accept me. What do I want? I just want to be accepted. The pasuk teaches us a very big lesson. I was by a shir before this, and I told this to the girls, this pasuk. It says that he found him and he was lost. It should have said he was lost and he found him. Once somebody's lost, once a kid goes off the derech, once a marriage is broken, it's very hard to put it back together. Intervention takes 1,000,000 times more energy and money and time than prevention. The Malach over here is teaching us a lesson. Vayimtze'ehu. He found him. He met him. He talked to him. He asked him, what do you want? And he realized after that v'hinei shaya basada, that this boy is very lost. And then he said, you're very lost, what do you want? Parents and children, it's very late in life when you find out when your kid's 17 and 18 that they're off the derech. It's very late in a marriage when you find out that your husband is not where he should be, or your wife is not where they should be, or they're online talking to people they shouldn't be. That's already v'hinei shaya basada. You have to spend time with the people that you're having a relationship with. And if you spend time, you'll find out maybe something that you don't know. Your wife needs more compliments. Your child is lost. He's doing things he shouldn't do. He doesn't feel good about himself. He doesn't feel loved. He doesn't have self-esteem. But how do you find that? First, it has to be vayim tse'ehu. You have to spend time. You have to talk to the child. Then, v'hinei shaya basada, you might find out, oy, my child's lost in the field. Matavakesh. How do I help you? What do you want? If you wait till he's lost in the field to find him, the marriage is lost or the relationship is lost, and you wait to find him at that point, many times it's much too late. So I spoke very much this week in Lakewood that parents, specifically parents, need to spend time with your children and need to explain to their children, I think the disease, the mental disease of our generation is not bipolar or all the other letters and words that are classified as mental diseases. I think the origin of a lot of depression and suicide and cutting and all the other things that people are doing is low self-esteem. When you don't think much of yourself, you project that so people don't think much of you, and you go into this cycle of depression, like, what am I doing here? I don't do anything anyway. Nobody appreciates me anyway. Nobody thinks of anything. There's no reason for me to be here. And there's a very interesting pasuk, and I spoke about this for a long time, and I think that it's extremely important in marriage and with children and in any relationship. There's a fascinating pasuk in the end of Parshat Vayeshev. Yosef HaTzadik is being challenged by the most beautiful woman in the world. The Chidah says that Yosef was a Gilgal of Adam. Yosef was very, very beautiful. We know that. He looked like Yaakov Avinu. There's a Gemara that says that Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol, who was so beautiful that we know in the Asarei Ruge Malchus, the princess said, peel the skin off his face and stuff it because I want to be able to look at him for the rest of my life. He was that beautiful. She said, of all the Asarei Ruge Malchus to the king, let him live. The Gemara says, the Malachim came down. When they looked at Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol, they said, he looks a little bit like the Shekhinah. We don't even understand what that means, but that's very beautiful. Rabbi Shmuel Kohen Gadol was just a Gilgal of Yosef HaTzadik. So Yosef HaTzadik was very beautiful, and there's a very fascinating medrash. There's only, I think him and David HaMelech, but David HaMelech, it says Yafei Einayim. By Yosef HaTzadik, it says Yefas Marav. The Torah says he was very beautiful as a man. It doesn't describe any other man ever in that description. So he was very beautiful, and the Chidah says she was created by the Satan to trip him up. If the Satan's creating a woman, he's creating a woman. So she was, according to the Chidah, the most beautiful woman in the world. And she couldn't eat, and she was losing weight, and she was looking terrible. And her friend said to her, what's wrong with you? And she said, I have a slave that is so beautiful, and I can't get him. And it's making me so sick that I can't eat. And the Egyptian women said, a Jewish slave, beautiful? There's something mentally wrong with you. Can't be. Can't be. We have the most beautiful men in Egypt. Can't be a Jewish slave, should be so beautiful. So the Medrash says she invited her friends, and she put them in a semicircle. And she gave them a knife and an esrog. I guess they didn't have grapefruits or oranges, so that was their citrus fruit. She gave them, and they said, I'm going to bring him in. It's a Medrash Rabbah. And she put his head in irons so that he could not move his head. He had to look up. And she brought him into the room, and the Gemara says, the Medrash says, that they were in such awe of what he looked like that they thought they were cutting the esrog, they were cutting the tops of their fingers off. So the Medrash says, and the blood was running down their hands, and she turned to them and said, I'm sick? Look what you're doing. You're cutting the tops of your fingers off. This is a war of the worlds. How did he refuse her? How did he, today, I talk to kids that are Machal Shabbos and off the derech and angry because their Rebbe said something wrong to them, or their parents didn't let them stay out till 4 o'clock in the morning. Everybody has reasons for being angry at Hashem. Nobody ever in the whole Torah had a better reason than Yosef HaTzadik. His brothers took him undressed him, threw him into a pit with snakes and scorpions to die. He didn't die. Okay, so they should have said, wow, he must be a tzaddik. Look at this kid. He is not wearing any clothing. He's in a bar, and the snakes are running away. The scorpions are running away. The kid has to be holy. Instead, they sell him. That's abuse. He ends up going down to Mitzrayim. If you learn Rashi, talk about abuse, it says in Rashi that Potiphar was gay. He bought Yosef because he was a pretty boy. He bought him for himself, says Rashi. So you're talking about Yosef HaTzadik, Kadosh, he was called the Yesod of the world. This holy Jewish boy who had a special jacket. He was his father's Talmud Muvah. Gets attempted murder. They try to kill him. Then they sell him. Then he's born in such a house. Shouldn't be angry at Hashem? Doesn't have a reason to go off the derech. Instead, this woman, far away, nobody cares about him anyway. Nobody knows where he is. And Potiphar's wife, who has an unbelievable vikuach, it says she was a sorcerer, she was also very brilliant. And she said to Yosef HaTzadik, why aren't you succumbing to my wishes? And he said, I have two reasons. One, you're married. I don't commit adultery. Two, you're not Jewish. I don't sleep with women that are not Jewish. I'm not married to you. This is not who I am. But you never give a reason when someone asks you a question like that. You just run for the hills. You don't get into a discussion, because that's already halfway the problem. But once he said that, she said, really? She said, I'm not married. Because in Jewish law, by the non-Jews, there's no kiddushin with money or shtar, but the marriage is consummated by a physical relationship between the man and the woman, according to Jewish law. That's how a non-Jew is considered married. So she said, you know my husband, you know Rashi, right? You know my husband wasn't with me because he's gay, so I'm not married. I'm not married. So according to your laws, it's not adultery. So there's number one answer out the door. She says the other part that I'm not Jewish, so the Medrash says she took him outdoors and she showed him the stars. She was a stargazer. And Yosef had learned by his father how to read the stars. And in the stars it said that from Potiphar's wife and Yosef were going to come two big tzaddikim, Ephraim and Manasseh. Very clearly, it was written in the stars. She said, and who arranges the stars? God. So even though I'm not Jewish, it's going to happen. From the two of us are going to come two Jewish tzaddikim. So now both your reasons are out the door. That's why you don't give reasons. You just run. So he had a problem. He gave her two reasons and she blew them out the door. Now, what really happened with the stars, being that she adopted Osnas, and Osnas was called Osnas Bas Potifera. She was considered the daughter of Eshes Potiphar, even though she wasn't. She was adopted. But from her came Ephraim and Manasseh. So what she saw in the stars is that from her and Yosef were coming Ephraim and Manasseh, but it was from her that she had Osnas that he was having Ephraim and Manasseh. So the stars said it, but the translation was wrong. So ladies and gentlemen, how did Yosef not mess up? Beautiful, unbelievable pshat and a lesson for all of us. Vayima'en Yosef. Yosef refused her. And on the word Vayima'en, the men see this when they read the Chumash, there's a shalshelas. Right? A shalshelas is a musical note. Every word in the Torah has a musical note. It's Vayima'en. Sort of a siren, like he refused, but it wasn't easy. But a shalshelas in English means a chain. and it looks like a corkscrew. The musical note, shalshelas, looks like a corkscrew. It looks like a chain. It actually looks like a chain. A chain connects two things. What's connected to Yosef's Vayima'en? So we look in the Parsha, and we find another Vayima'en. There is one other Vayima'en in the Parsha. When they came to Yaakov with the jacket full of blood, and they came to be Menachem Avel because he lost Yosef, Yaakov said, Vayima'en lihisnachem. I refuse to be comforted. You can't. Somebody's sitting Shiva, and people want to come visit. He can't close the door and say, it's bad enough today, you know, they have their special hours from 12 to 4, and then back from 6 to 8. It's like it's a birthday party. This is, you be Menachem Avel. What are you know, hours, like a doctor. You know, you come to the door, you're like, oh, we're not letting anyone in from between 12 and 2, nobody can come in. It's Menachem Avel, it's Menachem Avel. But he said, no. No. I don't want no Nechama, no Menachem Avel. Have a good day. And he threw him out. You can't do that. Yaakov said something unbelievable. It's also brought down in the Chidah. Yaakov said, you brought me a coat. It's full of blood. It looks like an animal ripped my child to pieces. But you didn't bring me a body. So as far as I'm concerned, he's not dead until you bring me his body. You can bring me blood, and you can bring me this, and you can tell me stories. I put so much into this child. He is my future. It says Yosef was the Aish, was the fire. Esav is the kash, is the straw. I put so much into my kid, and you're telling me he's dead? Show me a body. Until then, by your mindless nachem, I refuse to give up on him. Those are the two Vayimayins. Yosef said no to her. Yaakov said, I will not give up on my child until I see his body. Until then, in my head, he's alive, so don't come and be Menachem Avel me. Yosef is thousands of miles, not hundreds of miles away, in the worst place of his life, in the biggest test. He says, no, not doing anything. Stars are good, you're not married, still not doing anything. Says Rashi, he saw a dikuno shalaviv. What does that mean? Like a magical face like showed up at the window? Don't do it. Oh, no, come on. Come on, there's no ghost at the window, please. What's dikuno shalaviv? As kids, we learned it's like a ghost came. Yaakov came as a ghost, and if Yaakov came as a ghost and he knew that Yosef was alive, then how come he didn't go back and the ghost didn't tell Yaakov, hey, he's alive? So one pshat is that he looked exactly like Yaakov. He did. He did look exactly like Yaakov. And when he went to the window, he saw his reflection in the window. Yosef saw his reflection. He saw his father. It's one pshat. Pshat here is different. What was Dikuno Shalaviv? He saw that my father, I know my father. I know my father. I know Yaakov. He will not give up on me until I'm shown to him as I'm dead. And I'm not dead. I'm here in Mitzrayim. And I don't know what my brothers are telling him. I'm dead, I'm sold, I don't know I'm not there, I don't know what they're telling him. But I know one thing, my dad, my father Yaakov, until I'm dead and he sees it, he will never give up on me. And therefore, when a person knows that their father or mother or there's someone in this world that absolutely refuses to give up on them no matter where they are, that will give you the power not to give up on yourself. I deal with some extremely severe situations. People commit suicide, chas v'shalom, you should never know of it, when they come to a point where in their head, there's no one left in the world that believes in them. And when they get to that point, that no one believes in me, no one thinks I'm worth anything, that's when they're like, so what am I doing here? I'm out of here. As long as there's a person in this world, whether it's a friend, specifically if it's a parent, the child knows that my mom or my dad or my mom and my dad, no matter what I do, no matter how I fail, no matter if I'm off the derech, no matter where I am, My parents won't give up until I'm dead. As long as I'm breathing, they will never give up on me. Then that child will come back. Because that child will never, ever give up on themselves. Today, I sat with a girl who's getting divorced with 3 children. And the reason she's getting divorced is because her husband gave up on the marriage. She said, I'll stick. If he believes that we can make this work, if he refuses, if he refuses, and I sat with him and I said, you have 3 children and you have a wife, you have to refuse to get divorced. You have to do whatever it takes to make this work. By your mind, you have to refuse. If you do that, it'll give her the koyach to refuse to get divorced too. No. He doesn't refuse to give up, he doesn't refuse. So in the end of the meeting with all the people that were there, she has no one in the marriage that refuses to give up on the marriage, so she gave up. So there are parents in this room, and there are people who will be parents in Mitzvah Hashem, and there are grandparents. And if you think that a grandparent's job is over, I hear people tell me, well, I brought up my children, I don't got to bring up my grandchildren. What a crazy mistake. Maybe you're in this world and you're still alive to be a grandfather or a grandmother so that you could help your children. Grandchildren, Baruch Hashem, I have grandchildren. Grandchildren have a safe place in their life. It's called grandma and grandpa. No matter what's going on at home, no matter what kind of marks they're getting, no matter how miserable they're doing in school, they could always go to grandma and grandpa and get a hug and a kiss. And my grandmother and my grandfather think I'm the best thing in the world. You can never take that safe place away from them. Grandparents are not supposed to criticize their grandchildren. That is not your job. But your job is to be a safe place. Your job is to say a good word, to give a hug, to give a kiss, to take them out, to buy them something. Everybody needs a safe place. My generation didn't have that safe place. Our grandparents got killed in the Holocaust. We didn't have that. Hashem gave this generation a present called grandparents and a super present called great-grandparents. So if you're a grandparent, you think it's over. It's never over. Your children and your grandchildren always need a hug and a kiss. And no matter what you do, my son or my daughter, no matter how far off you are and how far away you are, I will not give up on you until after 120, they put me in the ground or they put you in the ground. Until then, where there's life, there's potential, and there's hope. Yaakov Avinu saved Yosef HaTzadik because when Yosef was brought up, he knew that his father would never give up on him. I'll tell you a story, a true story. I spoke about this in Florida many years ago to a huge shul. I think it was in Boca, actually. When I finished speaking, an older man came over to me. I know who he is. Very, very, very powerful name. People know this name. Very, 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 5 verys, wealthy. Older man. He said, Wallerstein, can I talk to you for 2 minutes? I'm like, sure. I thought he was going to give me a check from Ohr Naava. That's not what it was about, though. He says, I listened to your speech. I was crying. I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to trigger anything. He says, no, it was healthy. It's okay. He says, I have to tell you something. He says, my mother had 13 children before the Holocaust. She was married with 13 children. The Nazis killed her husband and every one of her children. She lost everything. 13 children, you know what that is? They murdered all her kids. She came to America. She married my father, this guy's telling me. And she had me. He said, Rabbi Wallerstein, he was an older man already. Never in my life did I hear my mother say, I love you. He said, I accepted it. I knew she thought the Holocaust was going to happen again. So she's going to get close to me, and then she's going to lose me. She wouldn't be able to handle it. So she never, ever spoke to us emotionally. I thought I handled it. He said 3 days before she died, I was in the hospital with her. I was sitting next to her by the bed. She was very unhealthy physically, but extremely clear mentally. And she said, Yankala, I'm changing the name so you don't know who he is, but she said, Yankala, there's something I never told you that I need to tell you. And he's like, oh my gosh, she's going to say it. No way, she couldn't say it. She said, Yankala, I just want to tell you, I'm very, very proud of you. He said, Rabbi Wallerstein, that's all I got. I didn't get I love you. I didn't get I'm sorry that I wasn't more loving to you. He said, Rabbi Wallerstein, all I got was, Yankala, I am very proud of who you became. He said, Rabbi Wallerstein, I had a day in my life where I flipped in a business deal a bunch of buildings. I made close to $100 million that day. I'm like, Ohr Naava? No, I didn't say that. Like, where's the Meister? And I didn't say that. But I was thinking that while we're talking. He said, you don't understand the power. I sat by this deal. Everybody looked up to me. The power, the money. I thought it was the most important day of my life. He said, Rabbi, it was nothing compared to the day my mother told me, I'm proud of you. You don't know how right you are. Don't stop talking about it. That's what he told me. Don't ever stop talking about it. Parents, grandparents do not understand what it means, how important it is to a child to hear, I love you. I refuse. Ever. You need to know, in your darkest corner, in your darkest moment, my son and my daughter, no matter how far away you are and how deep you're in it, you have a mother and a father, or a father, that will never, ever give up. And I am telling you that if a child knows that, in their darkest corner, they will come out. They'll make it. But when you think your mother and father gave up, you're willing to give up on yourself. What a lesson from one word in the Torah. By your mind. So we need to go home. And we need to stop with this stupid technology. Machines with letters and words that have no feelings at all, no emotion whatsoever. Even if you put that little smiley on the bottom. Zero emotions. I heard something brilliant. You want to hear something brilliant? Brilliant. Hashem created the world that we live in, and we created a world called Apple. Technology. It's a world we create. It's man-made. Man-made. Phones, internet. It's amazing. It's even, to me, it's like much bigger than Kriyas Yamsuf. Because in Kriyas Yamsuf it says, one of the Nisim was that the 12 tribes went through 12 different ways, right? And one tribe could talk to the other tribe on the other side of the ocean. I'm like, hello, I can talk to China. Like, big deal. A plane? Could you imagine them going through the Yam Suf and there's a plane flying to Israel with 375 people sitting on it, eating, watching a movie, sitting back, air-conditioned, at 40,000 feet. We're outside the plane at 79 degrees or 179 degrees below zero. You want miracles? Technology? Wow. Okay, we can't really make frogs multiply, come out of the water, but we can do stuff like that, right? We do all kinds of, we do cloning. We do some crazy stuff. So Hashem is hidden in our technology. What's the brilliant thing I heard? You have to listen to this. It's amazing. The world that the human being created, all our electronics, everything, has an energy source from the outside. A car has gas, coal, batteries, phones need batteries. Your phone dies, it's dead. Whatever Hashem created has no outside energy source. The sun, no outside energy source. plants and trees and flowers, and everybody in this room is 98.6 degrees your whole life, sometimes 101, 102 when you're sick, but otherwise 98.6. Do you know what it would take to heat this area 98.6 degrees for 90 years? You know how much gas and oil it would take? Your body is 98.6, and at the same time, over 1 billion heartbeats in a lifetime. A billion times. At the same time, your body is 98.6. At the same time, you need energy to walk and to run, to breathe and to eat. Where's all this energy coming from? Where's your battery? Where's your battery? Where's your coal, your gas, your oil? What's driving you? Where's the battery for the sun? Where's the battery for a tree, for a little seed to end up becoming a 40-foot tree? Where's the energy from that? Where's the energy to create flowers and fruit? Where's the plug-in? There isn't any. Because it's not man-made. The energy is God. Everything that God created, he put his energy into the world. There's no batteries, there's no plugs, there's no outlets. Even though I happen to go, everyone asks me, why do you go to I go to Eretz Yisrael, right? And they say, why are you going to Eretz Yisrael? I'm like, to recharge. I want to recharge. And I'm like, recharge, that's such a funny word. I'm like, what are you talking about? Where do you find an outlet if you're looking for it? In the wall, that's where I go to recharge. I plug into the Kaisel. Where else do you find an outlet, right? But seriously, it's fantastic. The human world that we created needs an outside energy source. But everything else in this world that Hashem created has no energy source. It's all God. I dealt with this with atheists. I'm like, so where's the energy source? Where's it coming from? It's an energy. I'm like, and where does the energy come from? It's an energy. I'm like, but where does the energy come from? It has to come from somewhere. Because Baruch, when he created the world, he put himself in the plants, in the trees, in the animals, in everything. Animals are 98.6. We're 98.6. The whole living world has an inside temperature without any batteries. There's no batteries. A5 batteries, C, D, AA, AAA, nothing. Just the rabbit, the little alkaline rabbit. But we're not the rabbit. Because Baruch Hu created this world and he put this energy into this world and was so busy playing with the toys that we have when our children need us so badly. This little girl in pre-1A, I asked her, her name is Malki. I said, Malki, who does your mother, it also backfired by the way. I said, Malki, who does your mother love the most in the world? Of course, I'm thinking she's going to say Malki, that's why I asked her. And she's like, Ruchi. I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, Malki, Ruchi's your sister, your baby sister, right? Your little baby sister. She's cute. She goes, no. She's not even a relative. I'm like, this is really not working. Malki, I think we're going to go to lunch. Who's Ruchi? My mother's best friend in the whole world. I'm like, and how do you know it's your mother's best friend in the whole world? And she's like, Rabbi Wallerstein, she's always talking to her on the phone. I'm like, kid's perception? So I called her up. I said, hello, you got a problem. Your daughter thinks that your best friend in the world is not her because you're on the phone the whole time. Hashem gave you live children, live husbands and live wives. What are you doing on that machine? That machine is not of your mind. It doesn't refuse to give up or not to give up. That machine has an enter button, but it doesn't have an exit button. It has an escape button. I don't know who came up with that idea on the key, but it doesn't say exit, it says escape, because once you're in, right, enter and escape, ESCP, I don't know, why didn't they write exit? So I'm here tonight on a mission. And my mission is that we need to tell our children, and even if you're 80 years old and they're 60 or they're 55, they need to hear it. Maybe I didn't tell it to you enough. I love you very much. I may not love the things you do, but I love you. It doesn't change you. You do some stuff that may annoy me. I don't like that stuff. But you, I'll always love you. Every person in this world needs someone to love them. Just like you need someone to love, you need to love someone. Someone needs to know that. And the way to tell them that is not only to express it with words, but to express it with the most important thing that we all have, and I talk about this all the time, and that is time. Time is the most precious thing in the whole world. America on New Year's Eve, which you missed already. Ha ha ha, ha ha, and everybody, right? America on New Year's Eve drops a ball. They take a ball and they drop a ball. Everybody watches a ball drop. We would have a very different thing. We would have the ball rise. Not the ball drop, but the ball rise. We go up and up and up and up. The world goes down and down and down and down. What's New Year's? Taking something that's up and dropping it down. Klal Yisrael takes something that's down and bringing it up. Chazak, chazak, v'nis chazek. When Klal Yisrael went in last week's parsha, when we went into Mitzrayim, the Torah says chazak, chazak, v'nis chazek. Up, not down. We're the opposite. Everyone in this room that came here tonight is not sitting by a TV watching a ball drop or a New Year's from one second to the other, but instead came to learn and to grow. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows that you very much appreciate the time that you have in your life, and you want to use it to do the right thing. I specifically wanted to be learning when so much tumah is in the world, to bring kedusha to this night that is full of getting drunk, doing immoral things, the opposite of our Rosh Hashanah, where we sit together as a family and pray and ask for forgiveness and grow. Very different Rosh Hashanah than their Rosh Hashanah. And that was my plan tonight, to come here. And Baruch Hashem, I think that if we just take this one step and we let the people in our lives, we go home, we tell our husbands, we've had our struggles, we've gone through a lot, but I refuse to ever give up on this marriage. It's just too valuable. And then the husband goes home and tells his wife, I refuse to give up on this marriage. This is my life. This is what I have. I refuse to give up on my kids. I refuse to give up on my wife. I refuse to give up on Yiddishkeit. Because the biggest vayimohen l'hisnachem, ladies and gentlemen, is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem refuses to give up on this nation. And that is why we are still here. You have to take the step. I'll end with this thought. Everybody thinks to change the world, people come to you, Rabbi Wallerstein, you changed the world. How'd you do it? Like, you must have been a super kid. I definitely was not that. You must be, I don't know what, Superman. I'm like, no. You know what it takes to save the world? They ask a question, what was the turning point of Yosef HaTzadik? Yosef HaTzadik really saved the world. I didn't save the world. He saved the world. They would have starved. The 7 bad years, they wouldn't have had any food that would have been reserved. The world would have starved to death, the whole world. Mitzrayim, the Jews, everybody. He saved the world. This poor kid who was sold and stripped naked, thrown into a bar, sold to Mitzrayim, ended up. This guy saved the world, Yosef HaTzadik. What's the turning point? What's the turning point? What made him Yosef HaTzadik? You'd think, I don't know, he was somebody unbelievable. No. If you look in the parsha, it says the following. We'll end with this. And every one of us can do this, that's for sure. It says the following. He's the head of the jail. Wherever he went, he was matzachen. He's the head of the jail. He had the keys to every cell. The warden made him number 1. That was Yosef's mazel. What happens? Yosef meets the two Sarah Mashkim and the Sarah Oifer. Vayar Oisam. First of all, he saw them. V'hinam zoafim. They were very uptight, very upset, very nervous, very depressed. So he says to them, Madua penechem roem hayom. Why do your faces look so bad today? You guys, mamash, look bad. You look depressed. So everybody asked, why does it say the word hayom? He should have said, why does your faces look bad? Why do your faces look bad today? Is mashma from this that every single day he looked at their faces. So he said, today, something's different. Why do your faces look bad? Yosef HaTzadik, what are you looking at Egyptian captured in a dungeon people? What do you care what they look like? You are lost in a dungeon. The Jewish people don't know where you are. Yaakov doesn't know where you are. The Shvatim don't know where you are. Potiphar put you in the dungeon. Who's going to get you out? You're Dunsky. You're never going to get out. You're worried about 2 Egyptians? You got your own problems. Says the Torah, every single day, he looked at it over the people and how you doing, how you doing? Today you guys look mamish depressed. Madua, why? So they told him, we had a dream and we don't know the translation of the dream. He translates the dream. Paro has a dream. He tells him he translates the dream. So had Yosef never asked them, what's bothering you? They would have never told him about the dream. He would have never translated the dream. He would have never gotten out of jail. He would have never saved Mitzrayim. He would have never saved the world. So what happened? He saved the world because he said Tehillim? He saved the world because he was learning the daf? He saved the world because he was some giant, brilliant person? He saved the world because he asked somebody, what's bothering you? Saved the whole world. Just by asking someone. But the first word comes from Vayar, that he saw. He looked at other people to see how they're doing. And he had his own problems. So that's Yosef. This week's parasha, Moshe. God doesn't talk to Moshe. God doesn't talk to Moshe in Mitzrayim. God doesn't talk to Moshe in Midian. Moshe finally gets into the desert. Hashem shows up. When does Hashem start to speak to Moshe? Moshe sees a bush burning, and it says, Vayar. Hashem says, Kisar men haderech. Hashem saw that he turned off the road and said, Madua, what's going on with this bush? Hashem then, Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe, Moshe. Hashem didn't talk to Moshe until Moshe stopped and said, something's different. Why? What's going on here? Hashem said, for someone to be a leader, you have to be able to see that things are different, and you have to ask the question, why? Going back to what I told you before with the Malach, by talking to him, he realized that he was lost and all he wanted to be was a brother. So what we learn from Moshe Rabbeinu and what we learn from Yosef HaTzadik is that to become a leader and to save the world, it's just looking at another person and asking them, what's wrong? Why? What's going on? That's what makes a leader. That's what makes a Yosef HaTzadik, and that's what makes a Moshe Rabbeinu. And there's nobody in this room that can't do that. You just have to care. You just have to look. I call it the second look. I myself, I'm standing in front of you giving you this whole speech. I'm like anyone else. I go shopping Erev Shabbos in this place called Chapanash in Flatbush because they have great coleslaw, okay? And I go every single week, and there's this poor old little lady who sits outside with her little paper cup collecting tzedakah. So I'm very good. I spend a lot of money on the food I buy, so I feel guilty. So this poor lady sitting out there in the cold, I put $1 in her paper cup. She's a very nice lady. Sometimes she says to me, Rabbi Wallerstein, you're so handsome, you're getting younger. So then I put $5 in the cup. I'm like, why not? For $5 for a compliment, that's cheap, right? So she knows me already, right? So a few years ago, it was a very cold day, and I come outside, and there's this young, like a seminary girl, I don't know, maybe 17 and a half, and she's giving her, it was like, I usually go at 11 o'clock. It was like 8:30 in the morning. She was already sitting out there in the cold, and the seminary girl is giving her a coffee with a chocolate Danish. And she's like, thank you. She's giving her brachas, she's have a shidduch, and she give all these brachas, whatever it is. And I go over to the girl, because that's how I like to talk, and I'm like, do you do this every Friday? She goes, yeah, ever since I spoke to her. I'm like, what does that mean, ever since you spoke to her? She said, I'll tell you the truth, Rabbi Wallerstein, I know who you are. She said, I used to come in the morning to buy stuff, and bakery stuff from Chapanash, whatever it is, and she would sit there, and she didn't have a bag of food or anything. And I was like wondering, like, when does she eat? She sits here all day. She's here at 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11, till they close, till 2:30. And she doesn't even have a bag of food. So I asked her, do you eat? She says, on Fridays, I don't eat. Why don't you eat? She said, because if I have to get up from my chair to go across the street to Jerusalem 2 to get a coffee and a Danish, it's going to take 5 minutes. I'm going to lose $10 because people are going to leave the store and I'm not going to be there. She has a poor woman's mentality. So she would sit there from the morning till the store closed, collecting money and fasting because she was scared she's going to get up. She's not going to have any food. So this girl said to her, I see you don't have food. What's going on? She said, I don't eat. So she comes every Friday, buys her a Danish and a coffee so that she has what to eat. I didn't see that. I saw a cup. So I put $1 in the cup. This girl saw a cup is connected to a hand, and that hand is connected to a person. And you don't talk to a cup, but you talk to a person, and maybe that person's hungry. And maybe that person needs something to eat. It's called the third eye. It's called the second look. It's called Yosef HaTzadik. What's bothering you today? It's called the Malach. Vayim Tse'ehu. He spoke to him, and after he spoke to him, he found out that he's lost. After she spoke to him, she found out this woman is hungry. Could you imagine every Friday not eating? Because she was scared, and while she was walking by, I gave her $1. I'm a big tzaddik. Meanwhile, she's starving. She can't eat the $1. That's greatness. Greatness is not just giving the person, but understanding that what's connected to that cup, to that quarter that you're putting in the cup, is a human being. And maybe that human being needs a good word. And maybe that human being needs a coffee and a piece of cake. That makes you a gadol. That makes you great. Vayigdal hayeled, the last word tonight. Vayigdal hayeled, when it's talking about Moshe Rabbeinu, vayetze hachutza vayar b'sevloisam. He went out and he saw their pain. Says the Mefarshim, it's one long line. Vayigdal hayeled, what was the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu that he grew? That he went out to see his brother's pain. That's what made him Moshe Rabbeinu. Caring about another person. If we show Hashem that we refuse to give up on ourselves, on our children, our grandchildren, on our marriages, we refuse to ever give up on Hashem, then in turn, Vayimoin Hashem lihisnachem, Hashem will refuse to ever give up on us. And with that knowledge that no matter what gullus we're going through, and we're going through a lot of stuff, but with that knowledge that he refuses to give up on us, and that we will be here until Mashiach comes, that will give us, in Mirza Hashem, the strength to refuse to give up on ourselves. Hatzlacha and bracha, and you totally missed New Year's. My bracha to you all is that you shouldn't totally miss the real one, which is Rosh Hashanah. We should all come to the Rosh Hashanah, Mirza Hashem, Rosh Chodesh Tishrei with Mashiach, healthy, besimcha, with children, shalom bayis, and health. Thank you very much.